5, A Strange Meal. The next morning we woke and the boys jumped up, excited about what our next adventure might be. "What shall we do now, Father?" they asked. "Rest," I answered. "It is Sunday." With that, we all decided to simply have a day of fun and relaxation. After breakfast, I built bows and arrows for the boys, even a little set for Franz. The boys quickly learned how to use them. No sooner did they finish practicing than I heard the sound of two birds falling from the branches. Just shot by Ernest. He was thrilled to have caught our dinner. "Well," said Ernest, with the bridge in place, "it feels like home, doesn't it?" "Yes," answered Jack, "but what shall we call all these places?" "We need to name them ourselves," suggested Fritz, "to make them our own." Fritz suggested our landing spot, Safety Bay. We all carried this name and carried on with our game. After that, we decided to call the spot where we built our first camp on the island Tentholm. We named our island Shark Island and our swamp Flamingo Marsh. We agreed to call our new tree house Falconhurst and the land in which we lived in New Switzerland. The next day, I suggested we head to Tentholm by a different route so we could explore more. We all trekked back in a line, looking quite a sight with our monkey riding our dog. Suddenly I heard Ernst shout out happily, and we all ran ahead. "Look," he shouted, "potatoes! Lots and lots of potatoes!" Sure enough, he had discovered an entire field of potatoes, which meant we would never starve. We all got down and started to dig up our new find. Our funny little monkey followed our lead. Loaded down, we continued to our new route. We made so many discoveries as we walked. Palms, flowers, cactus, jasmine, vanilla, peas, and pineapples all in our path. I was happy to recognize some katara plants, which were perfect for making a rope and string. I also showed my wife and sons how to use the pit of the plant to make fire by hitting the pit with a rock. Sure enough, it sparked, and they were thrilled to learn how to do it. Jack tried to pick some Indian figs. He found the prickles hard work, but finally managed to pierce one with a stick. We broke it open to get the fruit inside and ate it happily for a snack. Soon they were asking me questions about every plant that we passed until finally I told them to stop. "Boys," I admitted, "the truth is I don't actually know everything about all these plants and animals, but together we will learn much more about our island." Finally, we were at Tentholm. We began to collect the rest of our important things and set about catching the ducks and geese, which Ernst baited with cheese. Once back at our new tree home, we feasted on potatoes, butter, and cow's milk. With Falconhurst stocked, we turned in for the night. The next day, Ernst and I decided to look on the beach for driftwood. A driftwood sled would come in handy for carrying supplies back and forth between the two places. We took our donkey, loaded the wood onto it, and went back to camp to mark our sled. When we arrived, the other boys were catching more birds. My wife had suggested that the boys build traps to capture, but not kill, the birds. She explained that we could be here for a while, so we need to make sure we planned our food for the future. As they worked out this idea, we built our sled. Everyone was busy and happy. Franz, being the youngest, wanted to help too. He suggested that we should plant gunpowder in the ground. That way we should grow something really more useful than vegetables. The boys all laughed at poor Franz as I explained to him how gunpowder was made. As soon as the sled was finished, Ernst and I set back to Tentholm. Once there, we again gathered supplies just as we were about to leave with all we could onto the sled. We noticed the animals were nowhere in sight. Ernst searched for them as I went to cut more sugarcane. Returning, however, I found Ernst asleep. "Ernst," I said, waking him, "if the animals have made their way off the beach by crossing the bridge, we may have lost them for good. We will be very sorry for that." "But look, Father," he said, "I have pulled up one of the beams of the bridge, and the animals can't cross until we put it back." I laughed at this bridge beam and checked the loaded sled, Fritz began to try fishing in the river with a branch for a pole. Some string and one of the hooks friends had found on the ship. He called me loudly almost right away, and I came up to see that he had caught himself a giant fish. As he lay in the grass trying to pull it from the river, I noticed it was a salmon, almost 15 pounds. I hugged him with joy as we made our way back to the sled. I was proud of my son and relieved to know that he could take on a lot of family responsibilities. On our way back to our treehouse, we suddenly spotted a giant beast leaping through the woods. Ernst shot it and knocked it down. As we ran to get a closer look at the animal, we saw it was as big as a sheep with a head like a mouse, a tiger's tail, and ears like a rabbit. We looked at it for a long time, amazed by its appearance, until suddenly I clapped my hands. It must be a kangaroo, and you were the first to find one in New Switzerland. We somehow got our new prize onto our overloaded sled and made our way to Falconhurst to show the other boys what we found. We came back to discover them dressed in clothes they had found from the wreck, each looking like a little pirate. Fritz almost seemed upset that his little brother Ernst had such luck hunting. I took Fritz aside to tell him how important this work taking care of the family was to me, but he made a promise to take him along next time. That night, the whole family and the dogs had a delicious and strange meal that I would never imagine in our home back in Switzerland. Potatoes, salmon, and kangaroo. And that's the end of that chapter. See you next time.